Welcome to Frontline. It's 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We begin with that breaking news on the war in Iran. U.S. Central Command today releasing footage of Iranian naval targets being destroyed for posing a threat to international shipping in and around the Strait of Hormuz. We'll have much more on this in just a few minutes. Also, the Justice Department is reportedly subpoenaing former FBI Director James Comey over his role in the 2017 intelligence community assessment following the election of President Trump. Will the disgraced deep stater finally face justice? And a disturbing report from the HHS Inspector General finding that nursing homes are intentionally misdiagnosing residents with schizophrenia and dementia in order to give them drugs that make them sleepy. But first, Trump has Iran on its heels in the Middle East, but is a radical element awakening here at home? I'm Lidia Curanaj, in for Carl Higbie, and Frontline starts right now. As President Trump decimates the Iranian regime, its brutality remains. Today, the regime executed a 19-year-old national wrestling champion. His crime, his only crime, protesting. Think about this. If they can murder their own people, a handsome, rising star like this young man, what makes you think that this regime would hesitate for a second to take one of us out? You see, the thing with this regime is that you can eliminate every single one of these turban-wearing, virgin-loving maniacs, but their radical ideology, that remains as a cancer. And it's infected every facet of our planet. It's why the threat of domestic terror attacks, it is high. Let's take a look at this graphic showing locations of concern based on FBI and Department of Homeland Security assessments from San Jose, California, to Chicago, to Minneapolis, and of course, right here in New York City. Iran doesn't need missiles or a Navy or an Air Force to hit America. It already has people here who hate us and wish us death. Iran has been attacking us by proxy for a very, very long time. All you have to do is some research, folks. This right here, all of these, this is only a partial record of the Iranian regime's blood-soaked war on Americans for almost a century. Look at all of these incidents. Keep in mind, these are just the Iranian-backed attacks that we know of, starting all the way back in 1979 with the 66 Americans held hostage. I mean, and how quickly the world forgets, which has happened not too long ago, that as we speak, an Iranian national remains behind bars, a Seif merchant, awaiting trial for plotting to assassinate President Trump. There is no doubt that the Iranian regime, it is hell-bent on destroying America and everything we stand for. Thank God we have great leaders trying to protect our homeland. Here's CIA Director John Ratcliffe testifying on Capitol Hill today regarding global threats amid this war.
Is the Iranian regime committed to America's destruction, in your opinion?
Yes.
Does the Iranian regime have American blood on their hands since its founding in 1979?
Yes.
Has Iran plotted assassination attempts against Americans on American soil?
Yes.
Was Iran developing a nuclear weapon prior to our military action last June? And did Iran remain committed to developing a nuclear weapon in the lead up to this conflict?
Yes.
If left unchecked, do you think Iran would have the ability to develop missiles capable of reaching the United States?
Yes.
Did Israel force the U.S.'s hand and make us take action, as some have claimed?
No.
Well, Israel did not force Trump's hand to act against Iran. The hatred for Israel is directly linked to the United States. Here's former director of the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, with Tucker Carlson.
The real threat, and most major terrorist organizations have kind of moved to this model, is the lone actors. Yes. It's inspiring people that are already in place by using the media. There was already a ton of blowback, because the Gaza war. Hamas used propaganda very, very effectively to, I think, curry a lot of favor with younger people here in the United States and abroad. And there was multiple terrorist attacks in America in the last year where Gaza was cited because they consumed some of the propaganda coming out of Gaza. And these people weren't, infiltrated Iranian agents. They were here, folks that were homegrown. And so we said, hey, the biggest threat right now isn't that the Iranians are going to like sneak some guys over and they've been waiting here for years and they're Quds Force operatives. That's always possible. Again, the Iranians are very competent as well. And they have tried something like that before in the past, back under the Obama administration, when they tried to kill the Saudi ambassador in Georgetown. So we were worried about that. But what we were more worried about was the fact that Biden had the border open for 4+ years.
Or who is ever controlling that auto pen, right? The FBI is now investigating, by the way, whether Kent, who claims to have resigned in protest over the Iran war, improperly shared classified information. Now, and speaking of intelligence, the United States just took out Iran's Minister of Intelligence, this guy right here. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announcing today that the continued decapitation of the Iranian regime.
The last job anyone in the world wants right now? Senior leader for the IRGC or Besiege. Temp jobs, all of them. And to borrow a page from Admiral Ernest King in World War II, we've decided to share the ocean with Iran. We've given them the bottom half.
And while those leaders are now becoming fish food, one by one, authorities say right now we should not be worried about an attack here at home, and that they stress that there is no specific or imminent threat. But we all know what happens when a rat is cornered. Joining me now to discuss, former FBI Assistant Director Chris Swecker. Chris, thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Good evening.
Sir, how concerned should we be about an attack here at home?
Well, I think we're in the highest threat level we've been in since the post 9/11 era, when we were seeing, all kinds of different plots around the country. I was active in the FBI at that time, heading up a field office. We rooted out a Hezbollah cell here in Charlotte, North Carolina, that had, up to, I think, 18 members and associates in that cell. They raised about $8 million in funds, and they had heavy weapons and were training out in the countryside. I think they're a typical Hezbollah cell. What we didn't see as many of back then were the sympathizers that we're seeing now, and the sort of the radicalized and mobilized, disaffected individuals that are now being targeted to rise up and conduct attacks here in America, which we've seen in the last couple of weeks.
You see this proliferation of radical Islam. We saw recent attacks here in New York City. We saw what happened in Austin, Texas. Property of Allah, that he had his shirt. I mean, time and time again, we saw what happened with the synagogue, with the school. The common thread, Islam. So should we be concerned about what we are seeing across our nation as Islam becomes now the fastest growing religion in the United States?
No doubt about it. This is the long game that the radical sects are going for, and the terrorist organizations, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, Hezbollah, they're playing the long game, thinking that they can take us down from the inside, that they can win over hearts and minds. In reality, what they're winning over are the disaffected and the people who have come to this country and not assimilated, or they're first or second generation, or people who are just mentally disturbed. But there's a new tool now called the internet that allows them to project themselves everywhere, into basements and living rooms, and onto your computers and in your kids' lives, when they're most vulnerable, 18, 17, 18, 19, as we saw in the two New York attackers, 18 and 19 years old.
And as the war now intensifies, according to a new report, children of Iran's regime leaders are educating American students at colleges all over our country, from New York to LA. Lila Khatami is a professor, this woman, of mathematics at Union College in upstate New York. She's a daughter of Mohammed, a Shia cleric who was president of Iran from 97 until 2005. Then we have Fatima Ardashir Lariani. She's a daughter of military leader Ali Lariani, a doctor at Emory University. And sir, there are like 5 or 6 more of these people. Clearly, we are not saying that these women did anything wrong, okay? We're not saying that. But would we be allowed as Americans to go to Iran and teach their students? Would we be allowed as Americans, say, I'm a Christian, to go there and open up churches? So why do we allow them to come here and do whatever they want?
Yeah, the short answer is no, we would not be able to do that. And, we had a person in Michigan who has two brothers that are members of Hezbollah. They're part of a mortar rocket team. And he has, by proxy, he has ties to Hezbollah. How he ever got into this country and stayed into this country, I'll never know. The problem is there's not, the vetting by immigration officials is not good. And under the Biden administration and previously the Obama administration, they just didn't care. They just opened up the borders and let anyone who wanted to come across. We don't have any vetting with the universities. They welcome these people with open arms, let them chant "Death to America" on our campuses and fly Hezbollah flags. We could never do that in another country. And the Hezbollah flag, flying the Hezbollah flag is a bridge just too far. That's material support to a terrorist organization.
Naturalized citizens, they chant "Death to America." Should they get a one-way ticket out of here? Should they be, can't you denaturalize someone? Why do we allow people that hate our country, that came here, made their money in pursuit of the American dream, and yet they become the nightmare themselves?
Yeah, there should be a process to denaturalize. We had this one National Guard guy who I believe was in at Old Dominion University.
That's right.
No, I'm sorry, it was Old Dominion.
I believe so.
Who had been convicted and not deported. He was naturalized, and yet even after his conviction, he wasn't deported. So we got to fix the system because we are allowing a fifth column to grow and fester inside the United States, and the people that come here and start to enjoy our freedoms, who come from somewhere else. That's a privilege. It's not a right, and we ought to be able to deport them anytime they start coming out and waving terrorist flags and distributing propaganda of terrorist organizations that are dedicated to the total extinction of the West.
Right. The Old Dominion shooter spent 7 years behind bars. ISIS sympathizer, wanted to provide weapons, and they let him out for good behavior and allowed him to stay in this country. You can't make this stuff up. Chris Swecker, sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, President Trump last night dismissing any knowledge of Israel's attack on a major gas facility in Iran and condemning Iran's retaliatory strikes against a Qatari major gas facility. And today, the president welcomed Japan's president and addressed the latest in the Middle East. For more on that story, let's turn over now to Newsmax correspondent Alex Salvi, live for us with the latest. Alex.
Yeah, Lydia, good evening. President Trump issuing warnings to both Israel and Iran, urging the both sides to exercise self-control when carrying out attacks across the Middle East. Now, the president taking to Truth Social, criticizing Israel for striking Iran's South Pars natural gas field, the largest of its kind in the entire world. Trump says that, as you note, he did not have advanced knowledge of the attack, which he claims was, quote, Israel lashing out, while saying that he's received assurances now from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that it won't happen again.
I told him don't do that, and he won't do that. We didn't discuss. We do. We're independent. We get along great. It's coordinated, but on occasion he'll do something, and if I don't like it, and so we're not doing that anymore.
Now, Israel's Wednesday strike in many ways seen as an escalation, as it essentially offers an economic lifeline to the regime, which is taking part of its own financial warfare of kind by choking off the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump was quick to warn Tehran that there would be serious consequences if it retaliated for that attack, including the U.S. potentially taking out that gas field entirely. But the warnings so far appear to have fallen on deaf ears, with Iran overnight carrying out widespread strikes across the Gulf, including a gas hub in Qatar and oil fields in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait. The president so far has refrained from taking out economic infrastructure that could pose long-term hardships for Iran and, more importantly, its people. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth calling Israel's strike a warning to Iran as it continues to target neighboring Gulf countries. Now, he's not detailing exactly how the U.S. will respond to Iran's retaliation, but says that tonight will be the largest strike package that's been ordered since Operation Epic Fury was first launched nearly 3 weeks ago, Lydia.
Alex Salvi, thank you so much for that report. All right, let's talk more about Iran and the fastest growing religion in the world, Islam. Joining me now to discuss, Senior Fellow for the America First Policy Institute, Ken Timmerman. Also with us, President of the Islamic Forum for Democracy, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Doctor, I want to start off with you first. How worried should we be about radical Islam and this propaganda war that's being waged all across our country and specifically targeting our young people?
Well, we should be very worried, and it's because of the open borders and just the unfettered immigration with no filter that we've had for with millions of folks coming across before the Trump administration. But I have to tell you, the alignment of America First policies now with the Iranian people heralds the solution to radical Islam, because right now those terrorists are here. The Islamists, the believers in political Islam and the supremacy of the Sharia supremacists of the Khomeinis in Tehran are here. And the best antidote to them is a rise of the secular movement in Iran, which is 70 million of the 90 million Iranians, to defeat them. So we take out their military. The unarmed people can then rise as the besieged are then destroyed by our and Israeli air support, if you will. And then that revolution in its 7th, 8th iteration can then take over. No different. This is a very American narrative. America was formed by our founding fathers who fought theocracy. This battle against theocracy is being waged within the Muslim community, and the radicals are the enemy. And I think the assets for us, our friends, are those who are against theocracy.
You know, War Secretary Pete Hegseth today, again, saying that Operation Epic Fury, he's stressing that it will not become a forever war. It won't be another Iraq or Afghanistan. And he says that the strikes coming today will be the largest package yet. Take a listen to this.
To date, we've struck over 7,000 targets across Iran and its military infrastructure. That is not incremental. That is overwhelming force applied with precision. And again, today will be the largest strike package yet, just like yesterday was. As I've said from day one, our capabilities continue to build. Iran's continue to degrade.
Ken, we're seeing the United States taking out every top leader, hunting them down, cornering them like rats, right? And making them fish food, right? But how do you erase an ideology? These people believe this is a blood war. They're martyrs. How do you wipe something like that out?
You have to kill enough of them. And by the way, I would say there's a separation of labor between us and the Israelis. The U.S. is doing what I call the strategic military targets. The Israelis are taking out the political strategic targets. They're hitting the Basiji. They're hitting commanders. They took out the intelligence minister. They took out the supreme leader. They have been focusing on individuals, on commanders. I guarantee you, they've still got a long ways to go. I saw Mohsen Rezai, whose son learned English in my basement 20 years ago when he defected from the Iranian regime. At the time, he was the highest ranking defector from Iran. I write about that in the Iran House. Mohsen Rezai, who is 68 years old, has taken out his major general's uniform again and is now once again speaking in the name of the regime. I am sure that he is also on that hit list. But that's how you do it. You have to take enough of them out.
You certainly do. Doctor, less than a minute. We reported it earlier. One of the men that was executed, he was hanged. A rising star wrestler. He was one of 3 young men simply for protesting. This is a regime that brutalizes and has been killing its own people. Yet we're seeing people in the streets right here of New York City protesting for Iran, protesting in alliance with the regime. What do you think is going on with these people? The radical, I don't even know if they're the radical, but the left. Why are they so misinformed? What do you think's going on, sir?
Oh, they're not misinformed. They're part of the Marxist jihadist axis that is against the West, against Israel, against free-thinking Westerners that believe in human rights, that believe in universal principles, while they are for the communists, the socialists, and the Islamists that are part of the China, Iran, Venezuela axis, if you will. So ultimately, as I argued at Oxford a year ago, Islam, my faith, is incompatible with democracy. But the separation of mosque and state, this is a once in a millennium shift that's happening in Iran right now, with the people of Iran fighting against theocracy. If we help them do this, which is what we're doing for our own sake, for American security, then they will ultimately be able to, from that dust, have a nation that can separate mosque and state and defeat the hive mind of radical Islam that has spread across the planet and will continue to spread if we don't end the forever wars by defeating the IRGC.
Gentlemen, we have to leave it right there. Thank you both so much. Thank you.
Amen to
joining
that.
us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, caught scamming the system while in our country illegally. The House says that should give you a one-way ticket back home, but not everyone is on board with this. We'll have those details coming up in just a bit. But first, running the rich out of town. And now look at her. She's begging them to come back. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is striking a very different tone than she did just a few years ago. So why the sudden desperation? Oh, her tax roll has gone out the window. New York gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman joins me live next.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
Pump up the volume. Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe Crohn's disease symptoms can keep coming back. Break away to what's possible with Tremfya. With rapid remission at 12 weeks and fewer bowel movements and less abdominal pain at 4 weeks. Most patients achieve remission at 1 year, and some patients saw visible healing of the intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Backed by over 15 years of clinical research. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
Spoiler alert, turns out taxing the rich is actually bad for the economy. Duh. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is now begging the wealthy to come back to New York. Take a listen.
I need people who are high net worth to support the generous social programs that we want to have in our state. Right? Now, there are some patriotic millionaires who stepped up. Okay, cut me the checks. I mean, just if you want to be supportive, but maybe the first step should be go down to Palm Beach and see who you can bring back home, because our tax base has been eroded.
Well, she's the reason why it's been eroded. I mean, clearly, wasn't it just a few years ago, Kathy, that you had this to say to the Republicans here in New York?
And we're here to say that the era of Trump and Zeldin and Molinaro, just jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Get out of town. Get out of town. Because you don't represent our values. You are not New Yorkers.
But the lib values aren't paying the bills, are they, Kathy? Don't you love it when karma works itself out? Joining me now to discuss is Nassau County Executive and New York gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman. Thank you, sir, so much for joining us. Meantime, you have New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. He's calling for even higher taxes. He's pushing for a huge spike in the death tax from 16% on $7 million properties to 50%, and he wants to decrease the property value to $750,000. So this guy basically wants to make people unable to afford to pay the death tax so then that the government will seize the property. This is communism at work, folks. And if it can happen here in New York City, the financial capital of the world, what happens, Bruce, to the rest of the nation?
Well, Claudia, first of all, it's pathetic that Kathy is going down and asking Floridians to come back when it was her policies that drove them away. And now Comrade Kathy with Zohran Mamdani, the two of them are talking about various types of tax increases, and it's the tax mentality that drove people away in the first place. So he wants a death tax. He wants to lower the limit down to $750,000. basically, if you own a home in Queens or Brooklyn or Staten Island, that your house
Working
is
class.
worth $750,000.
Right.
He wants to take wealth away from families. He wants to redistribute that wealth. It is pure socialism. It is communism. It's a redistribution of wealth. It's collectivism. It's all the things that have made other countries who had that form of economic policy poor and weak, and he wants to do that to our city, our state, and our country. And that's why we have to defeat Kathy Hochul, because she's in bed with Zohran Mamdani on all of these policies.
Right, and people need to understand this isn't just a New York City problem. This is a United States problem. And also, we're seeing it happening kind of roughly the same stuff in L.A. New York spending an astronomical amount of money on the homeless. We're talking $368 million just last year alone, yet we still have homeless people. Our tax dollars clearly being spent, and that's not the only, I mean, $80,000 per homeless person, all of this money going to all of these social services, and yet it's still the same. Everything stays the same. Is there corruption, you think, here in New York?
There's corruption. There's bad policies. We are the most overtaxed, overregulated state in the United States. We have a governor that is pro-criminal. Those are the reasons why people are moving to other states like Florida, Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina. And the fact of the matter is more people will move out. Businesses will move out. They will take jobs. We have to stop her policies. We have to stop Mamdani's policies. And that's why I'm running for governor, because we have to get back to economic development through capitalism, through creating prosperity, putting more money in people's pockets. We've got to get back to policies that protect victims and neighborhoods rather than make it easier for criminals to commit crimes.
And stop punishing success, incentivizing success. Utility costs. I live in Westchester County, about 20 miles outside of New York City. Our utility costs have skyrocketed. People want to blame the utility companies, but who is really to blame here, Bruce?
I will cut utility costs on the first day that I'm governor in half, because if you look at your electric bill, only 30% goes to energy. The rest goes to taxes, excessive delivery charges, and the green energy scam mandates. So you're paying for all these experiments with green energy that are lining the pockets of Kathy Hochul's contributors. They produce very little energy. I want to open up energy. I want to open the Marcellus Shale. We're sitting on one of the biggest natural gas reserves in the world, and we don't even drill. It's ridiculous. Our energy costs here are 50% higher than the average in all the states in the United States of America. We've got to get back to common sense principles. We've got to get back to creating economic development, cutting taxes, cutting utility costs, and common sense approach to government.
Common sense. That's it. Who would have thought, right, that would work? Common sense and capitalism. Sir, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck, sir. All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Coming up, Biden's war on mothers. We'll tell you about another example of just how much moms are hated, were hated under the Biden administration. That's coming up next. You're watching Frontline.
O'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Does it ever feel like society is going up in flames, yet people don't have the strength to care? There's a hidden reason for that, and it may surprise you. Testosterone levels in American men are at an historic low, and it's testosterone that gives men the energy to be men. Support your own natural testosterone production with Chalk. Go to chalk.com/TV1 for your $17.76 discount. Chalk's all-American customer service team is standing by.
I wish I could just watch live sports at home for a great price.
Sling lets you do that. Sling lets you do that. Sling lets you do that.
Choose and customize your channel lineup, or pause and watch for free. Sling lets you do that. Base package required.
At Ancestry, we believe every question about the past is a spark. And when curiosity strikes about the everyday lives of your family, we're here with answers only your ancestors can provide. How is your family woven into 250 years of U.S. history? Find out now, before our sale ends.
I'm former Mets manager Terry Collins. The Tunnel Towers Foundation is very important to me, and I look for ways to try to support them any way I can. If a first responder is killed in the line of duty, T2T will pay off the mortgage for their family. That's just one of the ways T2T makes a difference. You can support their cause as well by donating $11 a month. Go to t2t.org, let's go Mets, and let's help Tunnel Towers.
Need blood pressure support? Total Beets contain a patented key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. That's why Total Beets is the #1 best-selling beets brand in America. Take control of your health with Total Beets. Search Amazon now for Total Beets.
It's in every hug, every laugh, every keepsake passed down. Our legacy lives in the little things, a thread of love, wisdom, and strength that connects us all. With the security to grow, these moments become more than memories. They become lasting gifts for generations to come. It's time to take care of your wealth, your legacy, and your family with trusted guidance to invest in the links that last. Talk to our dedicated team at Siebert Financial.
To a hacker, your tax return isn't just paperwork, it's a gold mine. Your social security number and bank data are their biggest payday of the year. Old antivirus software can't keep up. You need PCmatic. Our default deny technology blocks every single threat that hasn't been pre-approved. If we don't know it, we block it. Secure your return right now. Buy PCmatic antivirus and we will give you PCmatic VPN for free. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Visit PCmatic.com.
Satellite internet that's fast, reliable, and installed by professionals. For work, for play, for every day. Available anywhere you call home. Visit Viasat.com/internet now or call 833-8Viasat to sign up today.
Who could forget Biden's war on mothers? Newly released documents from the Biden-era CIA revealing that his administration considered motherhood and homemaking as indicators of white, racially and ethnically motivated violent extremism, and that they are people sympathetic to such extremism. Now, according to the CIA, quote, actors as individuals or groups who may not openly advocate violence but amplify white, racially and ethnically motivated violent extremism narratives regarding their perceptions of racial and ethnic hierarchy, as well as perceived threats from those they see as advocating multiculturalism and globalization, basically a threat to society. So moms worried about protecting their kids from woke extremists? Okay, yeah, got it. Like the little old ladies going to Latin Mass at church. Joining me now is Logan Church, political director for Catholic Vote. Also with us, chair for New Jersey Moms for Liberty, Alexandra Bougher. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Alexandra, you're here with us. Pink, you got the memo?
Yes,
she got it too.
did.
She got it, Logan too, kind of. So what do you think about, are you surprised?
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, first of all, we lived through this. And, you know, it's very interesting to me that they worry more about mothers who are just asking simple questions. What is being taught to my child? You know, what are you guys talking about in school? And what is the curriculum? We're literally just asking these simple questions and just making the statement that motherhood is extremely important. And it is one of the most important jobs out there. We are raising the next generation of leaders in our country. So we need to know exactly what's being taught there. Maybe worry more about who was coming over the border and maybe some actual terrorists running in, not the moms asking questions.
Well, this also goes to show that we're not crazy, we're not being gaslit, because we had suspected this all along. Now, Logan, what are some of the narratives from these extremists that the Biden-era CIA saw as threats? Well, let's take a look at them. Praising motherhood and homemaking as women's most important responsibility. I mean, being a mom is the most important job on the planet, is the most revered, it's the most incredible, and there's a reason why in the Catholic faith, the biggest saint, the most important venerated saint is Mary, the mother of Jesus Christ herself. So what do you think about Biden putting down moms and seeing them as a threat?
Well, I would say as a new mom myself, I have a daughter 3 weeks old today. And so I actually just put her down for a nap to take this interview. So it's hard to sit here and say, when did people like me become the problem? When did people like me become the threat? People who just want to raise their kids and just the backbone of American society historically. But it's something that the Biden administration obviously took to heart when they started to attack parents at school board meetings. They're looking into mothers as extremists and terrorists. They were attacking Catholics who were just practicing their faith by going to Mass. And I think that's something very telling to us. But I also think it's really important to remember this is not just the Biden administration. It's not like we're just in the clear. The people who wrote these memos and the culture that allowed this still exists today. And it's so imperative that moving forward, even though we're under a new administration, person. We have to keep this in mind and keep it on the forefront as mothers, as American citizens, to make sure that we stand up and prevent this from ever happening again, because we cannot let this type of targeting and this type of victimization of the American people stand.
And also, according to the Biden-era CIA, white women cooking on YouTube. The CIA said that some German women produce online content under the guise of cooking tutorials, which feature discussions about the importance of organic food alongside subtle narratives about racial purity and the defense of white European heritage. So, Alex, watch out for that white Bavarian chocolate cake recipe. Here we go again. I still remember those images of the little old ladies and the priests praying outside, praying the rosary outside of abortion clinics, and they were dragged off to prison. And if it wasn't for President Trump, they'd still be in prison to this day.
Well, it's a great point. And luckily, President Trump does revere women and motherhood. He actually had us last week at the White House to celebrate National Women's History Month and National Working Moms Day. And he recognized the fact that women are one of the most important, people that we have because they're raising the next generation. And he said that. You could watch, even when he talked about his wife, how proud he was of her, that she could juggle a career, motherhood, being, the first lady. And so I think it's wonderful. Luckily, we do have an administration that loves women and knows what a woman is and respects them. But we definitely have to stay on our toes for the future. And parental rights is the #1 thing that's going to make sure that we know what's going on with our kids.
No greater job, no more important job than being a mom. Without my mom, I don't know where I would be today. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Well, coming up, apparently praying for our troops is offensive. Shocker there, at least one, according to one liberal media news anchor. We'll tell you who. We've got all that and much more in our Culture Clash coming up next.
Newsmax
shoots it straight. No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think. Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax. Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think. They let me decide.
Real news for real people.
Your Florida life is calling, and we have the answer. Valencia in Florida by GL Homes. Premium 55-plus living in 5 prime Florida locations. Gorgeous new homes from the mid-300s to $2.5 million. World-class resort-style living 24/7. Huge clubhouses, on-site dining, pickleball, and more. Effortless, low-maintenance living. Valencia, your Florida life is calling. Experience more at valenciaflorida.com.
Forget the warm-up. DirecTV got hot. They're on fire with more MLB games than anyone. Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
How old are you?
11.
In these times of darkness, of evil getting stronger, Israel is fighting a war for survival. There is no other way to say it. Iran is deliberately targeting the civilian population, targeting their dinner tables and their children's bedrooms.
Right now, Israel's towns and cities are under constant threat, surrounded by enemies who daily seek the destruction of Israel. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can save lives. We can provide bomb shelters, protective gear, and emergency food to keep families safe.
Your $45 gift to the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews brings life-saving aid to Israeli families facing daily missile and drone attacks. Many elderly remain trapped in their homes, hoping someone will bring food to their door.
Brinda is an 88-year-old Holocaust survivor who can't see. This is the difference between having food to eat or not. In Sinya's condition, there's no way she could go out to buy food. She's nervous from all the rockets that have been falling. This, for her, especially now, is life-saving.
Your $45 gift helps provide emergency food, critical supplies, and shelter for Israeli families who desperately need your prayers and your support. Please give now and let Israel know Christians and Jews stand together.
We're asking believers right now to respond with compassion and courage. compassion that feels the pain, and courage that answers the call.
Call the number on your screen, scan the QR code, or go online as you stand with Israel.
Little by little, age-related macular degeneration tries to take away your vision. You're not the type to sit back and do nothing, so now's the time to take action and make a plan with your doctor that includes PreserVision. It contains the clinically proven formula recommended by the NEI to help reduce the risk of moderate to advanced AMD progression. PreserVision is backed by over 20 years of clinical studies, and it's right here in the palm of your hand.
You spent a lifetime becoming who you are. Don't let AMD take that away.
It's your vision. Take action. Choose PreserVision.
Well, it doesn't get more Texas than BBQ unless, of course, you're a Democrat. Take a listen to this resurfaced clip of James Tallarico from 2022 fighting against climate change by making his campaign fully non-meat. Take a listen.
We have, I think, heard more and more issues of animal welfare. I think not just because it's the right thing to do and the moral thing to do, but also it's, as all of you know, necessary to fight climate change. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption and that we try to respect animals in all aspects of society. And so I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign. So we are only buying vegan products from our local vegan businesses.
He's the guy who beat Jasmine Crockett, and he's trying to become the first Democrat since 1988 to win a Senate election in Texas. Good luck on getting that vote for your anti-meat campaign there, James. Joining me now to discuss Kay Smythe, Newsmax contributor. Also with us, Curtis Houck, managing editor for Newsbusters. Kay, Tallarico, he's the same guy who says God is non-binary and that he just loves trans kids and wants them to be able to have abortions. What do you think about this whole vegan thing? Who would have thought a guy with a mask, was woke and made no sense?
Well, it definitely goes further towards explaining why he's such a loser soy boy. just dorky, spineless, very feminine. Definitely not what anyone thinks of when they think of Texas. So, yeah, good luck to him on winning, what was it, like the Senate seat? It doesn't matter. He's probably not going to win it. Yeah, really sad. I'm really disappointed. And honestly, my heart goes out to everyone that worked on his campaign and had to put up with that crap. Listen, I'm all for animal welfare. I think it's very important. But veganism is not, like, they're two completely different things. Right. Stop conflating it. Also, climate change is nothing.
Right. He's also claims to be a Presbyterian pastor. Now, apparently, Curtis, praying is political. Margaret Brennan of CBS tweeted this out after the Department of War Secretary Hegseth gave a briefing on Iran this morning. She wrote, "The Secretary of Defense tells the American public to pray for our troops on bended knee and invoke Jesus's name, ... Take a listen to what Hegseth said. Take a listen.
May Almighty God continue to bless our troops in this fight. And again, to the American people, please pray for them every day, on bended knee, with your family, in your schools, in your churches, in the name of Jesus Christ."
Why is this so offensive to Margaret Brennan, you think?
Shocking. Well, to quote our vice president, I don't really care, Margaret. I mean, she's become the meme. She's been such a memeable liberal journalist in the last few months. I mean, she sucks up to Iranian dictators. She sucks up to leftist politicians while she harangues Republicans like a Karen who wants to speak to a manager. But on a more serious note, what the secretary was doing there is a reflection of the U.S. military asking for prayer that dates back, as one of his press aides noted today, to George Washington at Valley Forge. So as we celebrate America's 250th anniversary, this is something that has been part of the American military since the beginning.
I want to get to this when we have less than a minute. Being a liberal, who would have thought, right? Being a liberal, and it's like goes along with being a sexual deviant, like chocolate and peanut butter. I mean, an Oregon high school principal who was originally suspended for his comments around Charlie Kirk's assassination. Of course, he cheered it on. He is going to prison in a child sex images case. Jeremy Williams, this Ugh, exactly.
Oh.
Sentenced to 61 months behind bars after pleading guilty to 3 counts of first-degree possession of depictions of a minor engaged in sexually explicit conduct. Real quick, Kay, and then Curtis, your reaction here. Why are the libs, why are they all like, why, this isn't surprising.
It's not surprising, and to be a social scientist for a minute, it's also kind of factual at this point that people who are into the sexualization of children literally can't be rehabilitated. So I don't know why that sentence was so short.
Curtis?
Sometimes it's the people you most suspect. And karma has a way of getting back to you. But I mean, yeah, we all reacted. Just look at the guy. I mean, he definitely looks like someone, you put 5 people in a lineup and say, find the sexual deviant with kitty porn. We're going to pick that guy.
Maybe he'll go work for James Tallarico's campaign when he gets out, and he'll run for something else.
Oh. Second chances.
Kay and Curtis, thank you guys.
Thanks, Lydia.
Thanks, Lydia.
All right, coming up, the House passing automatic deportation for illegals caught stealing welfare, yet, shocker of shocker, over 100 Democrats voted against it, choosing fraudsters over American taxpayers. Who's really protecting your money? We'll discuss next.
The Wall Street Journal said silver could be the trade of a decade.
Eric Sprott said $250 to $500 an ounce is entirely possible.
Gold recently surpassed its inflation-adjusted all-time high. Silver's inflation-adjusted all-time high is $209 an ounce.
And silver went up 1,300% from 1974 to 1980. Silver's got a lot of room to run.
Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 1-800-778-4156.
Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer nationwide. The only firm nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the No Fee for Life IRA. See how easy it is to protect your IRA with physical gold and silver.
Call now, 1-800-778-4156.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
When an earache strikes, you need relief fast. Introducing Earache RX from Dr. Easy, the makers of Wax RX. Not just another eardrop, Earache RX is real medicine with 4% lidocaine. Earache RX has the maximum strength available without a prescription. Strong enough for adults, yet gentle enough for kids. Earache RX gives you fast relief that starts working on contact.
Don't wait for an earache to strike. Get the power of real medicine. Get Earache RX at these fine retailers.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
Have you ever dreamed of getting your business on TV? At GrowAds.com, we produce a high-end TV spot, starting at only $950. Then, we air your TV spot on major cable networks in your local area, only at GrowAds.com.
Well, you think this next story would be unanimous. I mean, if you're in the country illegally and you're defrauding taxpayers, you should go home, right? It's straight, plain and simple. One-way ticket, get out of here. But that's exactly what House Republicans just passed. Automatic deportation for illegals caught committing welfare fraud. We're talking Social Security scams, SNAP abuse, mail fraud, just to name a few. But here is the kicker, folks. 186 Democrats voted against it. Once again, siding with criminals over what's best for Americans. I mean, should we be surprised? Remember when all those Democrats stayed seated at the State of the Union during Trump's call to put Americans first? You know what they say. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Let's bring in our guest, author of Make America Talk Again, Brilyn Hollyhand. Also with us, political strategist Luke Ball. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Brilyn, what do you think?
Listen, I want to be really clear to my classmates who are protesting that. I want to remind you that citizenship in this country of America isn't a right, it's a privilege. When you defraud our country, when you break into our country, when you steal money from taxpayers, you get a one-way ticket out of our country. I mean, I don't think this is being anti-immigrant. I just think this is being anti-fraud. And you're exactly right, Lidia. What's shocking to me is that 186 Democrats stood against this. They used to put this mask on and pretend that they were all compassionate and how evil of Republicans to take away immigrants from their children. Now they're defending illegals in this country who are defrauding the taxpayers when we hit $39 trillion in debt today, instead of defending the American people. This is sick.
It really is. And Luke, Oregon State Senator Casey Jama, she's originally from Somalia, shocker. She barely speaks English. She's been here for almost 3 decades. And listen to the message that she has for ICE.
Let me say to this federal agencies and ICE, this is Oregon. We do not need you. You're not welcome. And you need to get the hell out of our community.
Well, you get out of our country. Luke, what do you think? It's a man. I was confused by the name there. What do you think about an elected official openly attacking U.S. law enforcement on our own soil, a country that allowed you to be here?
Well, Lidia, who are you to assume that person's gender? You might have actually gotten the pronouns correct. That's the left strategy right now. First of all, that might have been a she, they. Who knows? Secondly, it's incredible to me that you look at the United States Congress, to the first story that you brought up, that we have to pass laws creating caveats for if you did this, if you did that. I've been working on my own piece of legislation. If you're in the country illegally, you get deported. And that state senator or that elected official that was just talking presents the mentality of the left that it is not your country. As American citizens and law enforcement officers who are trying to enforce the law, it doesn't belong to them. It belongs to the entire world. So whatever person or entity or group that they dislike, they want to kick out of the country just because they dislike them, while ICE agents are just trying to enforce the law. So the disconnect here on the progressive left is just staggering.
It really is. Gentlemen, we're going to leave it right there. Thank you both so much for joining us. And it brings to mind what happened with the Old Dominion shooter. That guy, naturalized citizen from another country, providing support to ISIS, sent behind bars, and they let him out, and he stayed here, and they kept him here. I don't know. We need some denaturalization happening. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. All right, before we go, President Trump honoring the saints who helped raise Jesus Christ. That's next.
Everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax.
One of my most frequently asked questions is, how do you get your teeth so white? And no, it's not the reflection off my white hair. It's Smile Actives. Boom, right there.
Do you have a yo-yo smile? Sometimes yellow, sometimes white. It's a constant battle between everyday stains and whitening treatments. Until now, get Smile Actives, the daily teeth whitening breakthrough that gives you a more youthful smile and helps you keep it.
Smile Actives is easy, and it works. No gloopy trays, no messy strips.
Just add Smile Actives to your favorite toothpaste and watch the magic happen. Our patented Polyclean microfoam lifts away deep stains for a dramatically younger and whiter smile.
You have a choice. You can have those yellow teeth, or you can be full of confidence. I love my white teeth.
Scan, click, or call for your whitest smile yet. And if you order right now, we'll double your whitening free. Get an extra Smile Actives as our free gift to you, but only while supplies last.
And right now, the best part, buy one, get one free.
100% of users saw whiter teeth. Smile Actives lifts away even the toughest stains from coffee, wine, and food, gently restoring your bright, youthful smile. Plus, it's safe for veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I drink coffee every day. Smile Active, it works. Got your boy gleaming.
Clinically shown to brighten your teeth 5 shades whiter in just 7 days.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Act now. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll double your order free. But hurry, this deal won't last. Smile Actives is guaranteed to work. Whiten your teeth or get your money back. No questions asked. Don't wait. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. That's free shipping, a free extra bottle. That's an incredible 58% savings.
I think we can all agree, no matter what the occasion, when you leave the house, everyone notices your bright white smile.
Scan the code, go to smileactives.com or call to get your beautiful whiter smile now.
Does it ever feel like society is going up in flames, yet people don't have the strength to care? There's a hidden reason for that, and it may surprise you. Testosterone levels in American men are at an historic low, and it's testosterone that gives men the energy to be men. Support your own natural testosterone production with Chalk. Go to chalk.com/TV1 for your $17.76 discount. Chalk's All-American customer service team is standing by.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
Welcome back to Carl Higbie's Frontline. Well, today, March 19th, is the Feast of St. Joseph, where we celebrate the foster father of Jesus Christ himself. And who better to honor this saint than President Trump himself, writing, in recent years, our nation has witnessed the rise of an extremist cultural movement that has sought to weaken the values championed by St. Joseph. But my administration is offering a much brighter vision for our rising generation. Instead of indoctrinating our young men with radicalism and hate, we must encourage them to embrace faith, get married, start a family, and raise the next generation of proud, freedom-loving, God-fearing American citizens. Guided by his example, we will never stop fighting for St. Joseph's legacy in our homes, our churches, culture, and public square. Bob Brooks, start a family, have babies.
Wow, that was beautiful. Kind of a wake-up call for me, huh?
There it is for all young men out there. We just had a segment talking about moms and how it's the most important job, and also being a father. It is an incredible gift to have children.
I do. I need to get busy on that front. You always try and help me.
Trying to find a girl for Bob Brooks. He's single, ladies.
Single in New York.
He's
not
single,
the easiest thing in the world here.
Ready to mingle. So is Rob Schmidt. I think he's dating somebody. We're calling him out right now.
I love that. I always love when you bring Catholicism and religion into it, Lydia. It's
hey,
beautiful.
faith is the foundation.
Yeah, it certainly is. All right, cool. You have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.